Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Briefcase in the Barn, a series of the Furiously Curious show where we talk about business, life, Christianity, more. With me and Gary, episode 58. We're recording about almost 3 weeks early here, but all this stuff is fine because you're going on vacation for a bit.
Yeah.
Anyways, I was saying before we started recording here, life groups. Do you think I should join one? Are you in a life group? Yes, you should. I'm not.
It's not totally fair because you would agree that I shouldn't probably be gone out another night a week away from my kids.
Fair.
So, I mean, easy to take pot shots at me as someone that literally is gone 4 nights a week already. I talked to a guy the other day. Great guy. I think he's an elder at his church, or I can't even remember.
The definition of a life group, by the way, for anybody that might
it's
not
a Bible study.
Is it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Oh, but it's a group.
Well,
it's a bunch of 3 or 4 couples that get together every week or every other week
and do life together.
Yeah,
which is what people would say the church is supposed to be.
Yeah,
but it's humanly impossible to do life properly at church with 500
on a Sunday morning
on a Sunday. It's just not So if you actually want to do life with Christians and be what the church was in the New Testament, when the context of the New Testament was written, I would think that you would need to be in some type of life group.
Yeah. And usually if you're meeting with the same people over a long period of time, it does get real. Hopefully.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't. That's really disappointing.
Yeah.
But that's on the people that are being phony. It's one of the things that I struggled with in life groups in my journey as being at church in the last 20 years.
That you were being phony or other people were?
No, other people were. Where I would be like super vulnerable and talk about like the struggles in my marriage, and I had like 5 older couples that had been married way longer looking at me like I had 3 eyeballs in my forehead. Now, granted, I mean, I do have some strange things happening. I had yesterday, I was going to tell you I was almost as sore as you were. Have you ever heard of dry needling?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's like acupuncture, no?
I don't know, maybe that's what it is. I have no idea, but I was at the Cairo for the last couple of weeks because I couldn't hardly put on my shoes and tie up my shoes. So I went to the Cairo, and because of that roller hockey tournament. And then the guy's like, oh, you should do dry needling. I think it'll help you. And I asked a family member, and one of my family members had done it. So I went in without Googling it or knowing anything. Well, it turns out, like, basically pulls my pants down and starts stabbing needles into my cheeks, man. It was just brutal.
Yeah.
I was screaming like a stuck pig.
Yeah. Oh, you actually were?
Oh, yeah. I'm like, this is BS. You know, I said partway through the screaming, I stopped. So you know what the worst part about this is? That I'm paying you to do this, you cockroach. Anyways, I paid my bill. And that hurts. Well, you can't even handle laughing. Anyways, I felt very vulnerable.
Well.
Very vulnerable.
Yeah, that is weird. I did it once because someone told me to do it.
Okay.
Acupuncture.
Where did they do it?
My butt, my legs, and my hands as well. So they found like a nerve here in between my fingers that was attached to my back muscle somehow. I'm like, man, the body's complicated.
Yeah, it is complicated.
And then I tried to grab my phone, and then I like accidentally stabbed it and went way deeper, and then it just hurt like a bad.
Oh, I didn't move and I didn't look. I didn't want to see what he was doing.
Okay.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss, and I'm a very happy person, so I just kept my eyes closed. And anyways, it was pretty funny.
Okay. Anyway, you're going on vacation again to Barnabas Landing then?
Yeah, next week.
Oh, I'm so excited for you.
3 nights.
No idea. You're gonna hate it. You're not gonna like it at all.
Why? Because I'm on an island, prisoner of war, or what?
No, I'm just gonna undersell it, right? So you don't get disappointed.
Oh, yeah. That's how I do it. Everything in my mind. So I'm always happy, right? Whenever you call me, I'm having a great day. It's kind of not having a bad day, and it turns out not too bad.
Okay. Anyways,
you got a lot of content that you want to push through.
A lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, a lot of mailbag questions. Okay. So first one came in from. I'll just read it. When I shared a couple weeks ago about the guy that was on top of me, in the middle of the night with no eyes.
Oh yeah.
The demon.
Excuse me.
Okay. When stuff happens like at night, like you shared on a recent podcast, is it a demonic attack like spiritual warfare, or is it something more scientific like sleep paralysis? How do you say that? Paralysis. Or maybe both. I've looked into my own experience, seeing dark figures, hearing whispers, not being able to move, difficulty in breathing, and everything I pointed to sleep paralysis. The science
I might be saying they might mean
behind it made sense. REM sleep, hallucinations, etc. But from a Christian or spiritual perspective, it's seen as a demonic or spiritual warfare, right? There's this tension between neurology and theology, or science versus God.
This is very interesting. So I just had lunch with Ken Dick,
okay,
and we were talking about freedom sessions in Africa.
Okay.
And he said to me, so he's really he's just being really transparent with me as a friend, I guess. Like they look at everything as spiritual and everything is demonic. Like everything negative is right, which they're paintbrushing and it's dangerous. So I think like he just didn't even understand it. He was
so I was in Africa for a month in 2013.
Okay.
And there was actually, we went to a local church one Sunday, and there was actually this huge tree on the property at one point that the locals would always come and worship this tree. And that was on the church property, but they couldn't get rid of it because they didn't have chainsaws or saws or anything else like that. They can't move it. And so they prayed around it for 7 days. After 7th day, that actually fell down. And this was a common story they were sharing. Now, very hard for me to believe, even though they told me the story, because it just does seems too crazy to be true. But they also shared about things like people broke their arm, and then they would go to a witch doctor, and then the witch doctor would heal it. So I'm wondering if in Africa there is more spiritual stuff going on. Either ways, sleep paralysis, sit it right there, I think is a pretty new term from what I understand, and I looked up, and it's what is described as sleep paralysis, and historically has been referred to as spiritual. And it's only in recent times they've been putting it under medicine and neurology, and so that doesn't surprise me too much. But I would say if you're dealing with this, test it. Like, call out to Jesus. If this is happening to you in the middle of the night, like you can test it, right? You can pray about it. Like, just like I started saying Jesus Christ over and over, like Dave Curry had taught me, and it went away. But there's also a really, really good book from Neil Anderson called The Bondage Breaker.
Okay.
And I read that a couple of years ago. That was really helpful for me. But it is like, just like the Holy Spirit is very, very real, and angels are real, and protecting God's people. The demons are very, very real. 1/3 of the angels fell.
Yeah, we never, right? I mean, it's fascinating how in our Christian, even in our, like I say, we're not, we're far from where we grew up, but there's still this whole culture of, I mean, I gotta be careful because now I'm speaking for other people, and there's a lot of people that we go to church that would disagree, that wouldn't feel this the way I feel it. But I feel like how I am, I'll speak for myself. I feel like, man, even when you talk about the miracles that can happen, and I struggle with this, even like praying for healing or just praying for people to be, just healed from really serious things. Yeah. Like, we profess with our mouth that we worship like a God that can do anything, yet practically I don't really live that way, which is really disappointing, right? Just the idea of like, God can do miracles. He still does do miracles. And we just, I don't know if it's because of the...
But it does say clearly in the Bible, like 1/3, I wish I had the Bible passage pulled up right now, but 1/3 of the angels fell with Lucifer. Like, that's
definitely
a lot of demons.
Definitely, I can picture the verse where it says, hey, just the idea of the spiritual warfare, right? And we really don't live that way. We talk about all the physical things that are going on because that's what we can see. Yeah.
But also we fight against the verse. We fight against principalities and powers, and like we're not fighting against like Armenians.
Yeah. Well, we're doing that too, but they're a pretty difficult bunch, eh, Matt?
Okay. Moving on. Oh, before I move on, I just shared with Gary that it looks like I found another guy for an employer that was listening to the show that was looking for somebody, and I advertised the job on here and likely found him somebody. Of course, you don't get paid. I don't get paid until like they hit the 3-month mark and the 6-month mark. So we'll see if it actually works out. But if you're an employer looking for somebody to hire, let me know and I'll advertise it here, or maybe even I'll know someone right away or make some calls and might be able to find you somebody, or the reverse of that if you're looking for a good job. Either in Alberta, Ontario, there's some listeners even like remote jobs, even across the States, and people that listen here. So I can might be able to help you with that. So
how was the air show?
It was good. Yeah, it was so hot. It was so hot.
Were you not prepared for that? Have you ever heard the horror stories of people being out in the tarmac? And
we were on the grass.
Okay.
And we bought an umbrella so cover Ollie and Nicole.
Okay, you were pretty prepared then.
Yeah. It was really good. But we got there at like 11, and at 3 o'clock we left, and I missed the F-35s and the snowbirds because I was like, I don't love planes that much to like burn here for like 2.5 hours. And then we don't miss all the traffic too. But
it was cool. It was good?
Yeah. Especially because those like the F-18s, the ones that Trey flew. That was kind of cool to see the ones that Trey flew, and to whip them overhead, and we weren't expecting it, and it's freaking loud, man. Like,
So do they shut the airport down for those days, or just part of the day, or how does that work? Just have a certain amount of hours that there's no planes
they're between each segment. I think there are. I mean, we've seen planes taking off.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, regular planes. So.
Okay, but you're on the airport grounds, are you not?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the last one I seen taking off was around 11, so maybe there was a section of time maybe they shut it down.
Yeah, it just feels like a total liability, right?
I'm not sure, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Kids loved it.
Okay.
So, do you remember that quote you read from Spurgeon about marriage?
Yeah.
Episode 55.
Yeah.
So I don't know if people remember this, but we got this back from. I totally disagree with the Spurgeon quote about marriage. What is he talking about? Birds and arithmetic for anyways.
BS there.
What about the reference to pounds and ounces? Was it a joke about how a wife might let herself go and get fat? Well, a husband can get fat too. Not helpful at all. I don't know. I don't even remember the quote really, but I thought I'd read the feedback. So
Appreciate the feedback.
lots of questions today. So another question here. Being countercultural as a Christian, counter woke, counter liberal, counter conservative, and maybe even counter Dutch culture. I guess, do we ever think about the cultural things that we hold on to that are actually not Christian? Graciousness or fruits of the Spirit? Like, if all Dutch people around me are rude and obnoxious, do I actually realize that those are pretty significant sins in line with sexual perversion? Or do we just laugh it off and say, sorry, I'm Dutch?
Just you do that.
All the time. Doesn't matter what. I think that there is something as cultural sins, like where there's something that's the whole culture is doing, and that it seems normal, and so
For sure, I would look at drinking that way. I think that in our culture, drinking, and there again, there's nothing wrong with drinking. One of the things that I think I talked about it, that like lots of churches believe in no drinking, abstaining totally from drinking, from all denominations. That's very like, it's hit and miss. But the one thing that I do find fascinating about Dutch culture, and it's, you know, because I ended up having a serious drinking problem, and there again, I'm not against drinking. I think, you know, I mean, I probably like drinking more than most people, but just don't do it at all anymore because I can't, because I always break out in handcuffs whenever I drink. But the idea of like being sober minded, I guess that's kind of like, yeah, just being sober or just being Christ-like. I just can't picture that, you know, any form of escapism from reality would be okay, right? And so the idea of just getting a bit of a buzz, or however people would describe it, like that to me would be something that a lot of great people do that and would justify it by, hey, like I'm just having a couple. I'm definitely not drunk. I could probably still even drive maybe. And I guess my question would be, where is that line? And there, it's a conscience issue, but I just think that's something where most people's consciences are like, some whole Christian groups are kind of like, whether it be a women's book club or whatever, things like that will be centered around alcohol, right?
Yeah.
And I just think, I guess for me, it's like, man, if you can't have fun sober, you got another issue.
Yeah. I think it's
Is that fair or not?
Yeah, I think 100%. Okay. But I think it's also
like, I'm not there again. I would never, it's really dangerous. You don't want to become legalistic about it. It's just the idea of like, that's a cultural thing that I see that. Like, do you think that's worse, or do you think the idea in our Dutch culture of just the idea of being blunt and to the point and maybe being obnoxiously rude because, you know, we just say it like it is?
It really depends where your heart's at. I think I think that's a really important thing. Like, if like you can be blunt and direct, like in many ways Jesus was in a lot of things, but where's your heart at? Are you doing it because you want to be a putz or whatever? I don't know. But I think it's also if you're comparing yourself to the people around you, then you probably don't realize that there might be an issue, right? Like, I was talking to someone about freedom sessions recently, and he's like, well, like I'm doing pretty good. Like, if I compare myself to my friends, like, oh my God, that's what you're doing. You're comparing yourself to like the people around you. Compare yourself
a bunch
to
of sinful people.
Yeah, compare yourself to Jesus. Like, you know, but I think some other ones that probably show up is gossip. You know, I think that's really accepted in our
everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, I guess like
people love gossiping. Social media is literally gossip. It's just sharing negative things about what's going on somewhere else.
That's right. Yeah, like horrible. Like, that's really, really not helpful. And it's not good. If someone's talking bad about another person, like, say, hey, sorry, I don't want to hear that. Like, shut it down and don't do it yourself. Like, working too much. I've seen people like glorify. My husband always works 70-hour weeks. I'm so proud of him. Well, like, you know, love of money. Yeah, we have to fight cultural sins, like, and we're gonna get mocked for fighting it, especially too, because if people around you, usually if you start fighting those sins, then people around you will feel guilty.
They get uncomfortable, yeah. They'll push back on you.
They'll
either change or they'll make fun of you, one of the two.
Yeah.
Or they'll just quietly just ignore you and get away.
Yeah. So,
what was the original question? Was it in relation to just being countercultural?
Yeah. I think also, but the thing is, the other thing that can happen is like usually we're the hardest on other people on the sins that we don't struggle with. You know, I remember someone that like never was speeding, and like always drove the speed limit, and he was super hard on everyone else who drove the speed limit, or they didn't drive the speed limit. Because that's the easy one, right? Because then you can like feel good about yourself. It's just like, so just because you might be like successful in killing a certain sin, that doesn't like give you license to then go like chase everyone down on that one. It's just like, no, focus on your own stuff, the stuff that you are, where in the areas that you are struggling. So, anyways, moving on. Another listener question, mailbag. A topic I don't ever think you two have ever discussed is how we should determine what to do with our lives in terms of career choice as followers of Christ. So this is assuming that you're Christian and are saved or converted. In our faith, is our faith independent from what career choices we make? Example, God doesn't care what we choose as long as it's a career that isn't contrary to God's word. Or should we be laying each one of those decisions before God and seeking his guidance in these things? If the latter is true, what does that look like practically? And maybe added to this, you could share why you and Gary do what you do and how you ended up there.
Well, I think the question is basically answered in the question. I mean, it is the latter.
Yes.
Right. And I think that most young people, like I speak at Timothy, I've spoke there a couple of times in the career, at the grade 12 career class or whatever. And it's fascinating because I would have been the same way when I was in high school. But when you're in, grade 11 or 12 and you grew up in a culture where it's all about what you have, all you can think about is how much money you could make or what that would look to some degree. I mean, that's probably not fair. There's probably kids there that are thinking a bit deeper than that or just but I mean, I think a lot of people struggle in their work-life career just because they're not following God's path for them, right? I know even my life, some of the times when it's gotten really grindy, there's only one or two reasons it's that way. It's either because, A, God's trying to just teach me a lesson and I need to persevere, or the opposite, where, hey, I never should have went down this path. I've experienced that periodically where it's like, okay, no, I'm not being blessed here. And to discern that is hard. And I've prayed about it or I've had
because even if you're making lots of money doing well, it doesn't mean
you're doing the right thing.
No,
so
that's right.
No. So I think that just the idea of, and it'll just lead to other problems.
Yeah.
And I think that I have felt true blessing in struggling and just in that wrestle. And I think that, like, I had somebody else call me the other day about something pretty weighty at church that they're struggling with. And I just said, man, there's just something really special about just literally pray about it, right? And seek God's guidance and maybe run it by, be careful because you pretty soon are gossiping, but run it by one or two trusted people maybe that you would look to for respect. I mean, in career-wise, I have to be really transparent. I feel like I have kind of fallen into everything that I like. It's not as if I like had some grandiose vision. Like I always wanted to be a dairy farmer, mostly because I was told I never could. Like I love cows and love farming, but like it was the whole idea of my whole youth. You were said, hey, if your parents didn't own a farm, you will never milk cows. And initially I kind of probably accepted that at face value. And then as things changed, I'm like, no, that's ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
Right. And then managed to kind of claw my way into that. Right. But I don't know. God, have I prayed about stuff? And I probably haven't. So I'm probably not near qualified to answer this question in a really great way.
You have to be perfect at it first before you get qualified?
Sorry?
You have to be perfect at it first before you're qualified?
No, but I just think there are people that are way more thoughtful. That, like, I am pretty impulsive and you probably are too. So like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the first thing is like, are you a Christian? Like that's the most important thing. It's like if you're thinking about this in terms of what does God want me to do, and you're not even saved, like that, deal with that first. But secondly, I asked Matt actually about this, and he said the Christian's life is for the glory of God at any cost. Like that's like that's your goal is to glorify God in whatever you're doing. And so if you're looking at a career choice, like how can I glorify God in this? It doesn't mean that like that means you have to be saving people, but that's the goal and everything, and that should be the overarching question. So if I think of my own life, of course I was working at MDT and I was making really, really good money and I was traveling the world and like meeting cool people. And I remember being at Promontory Church and Pastor Jonathan was preaching, and I remember him specifically saying like talking about like sacrificing and following God. He goes, maybe this means you need to quit your job. And I was like, oh, and I remember, and then it was a couple weeks later, he had a similar sermon. He mentioned it again, and like that's hard to do when you're traveling the world and making the really, really good money, and that you have to quit and not really know what that means and where you're going to end up. I also I got all the training to become a coach, not to actually become a coach, but to be a better leader at MDT. I didn't think about becoming a coach. I thought maybe one day, and it wasn't until someone tried to hire me, and I said, "Hey, how about instead of me taking the job, I don't think you actually need me. How about I coach you instead?" And then I kind of started from there. So I kind of fell into it a lot earlier than I ever expected to be doing it, but which is usually what happens. Usually, it's God works in those kind of ways where it's not like that clear and something that you're steamrolling towards. But does it? Your first goal should be my goal is to glorify God and follow Him, and then usually a lot of things will fall into place after that. So
interesting that even I'm just thinking about even now I'm trying to hire somebody there over at the shop, and it's the person, I think I have somebody, and it's interesting how just different personalities. This guy is a Christian and hesitant to change. And so there's probably people listening that probably do need to change what they're doing. They probably need to change their whole career. And it's fascinating how our human nature will just keep us in a very dark spot or totally working somewhere where we shouldn't be, either because of comfort or the amount of money we're making or just the unknown. That's just even people that are fine with change. I mean, I'd be a person that probably likes change more than most people.
Yeah.
There's just times I just get stuck in a rut, and it's just the unknown or the idea of making a change here is hard, right? So I think it's definitely worth praying about. And I mean, I know from experience with family that have worked in jobs where they were really unfulfilled or just felt just start to become pretty jaded about stuff. If you're doing that, either the situation needs to change or you need to change. One of the two. We're not meant to be living in the state of perpetual, I don't think we are anyways, of perpetual discontent. And, there's probably some idea of hey, God's calling us to maybe uproot things a bit, right? And it's funny how much we can live. I mean, even just with sin, but just especially even a job, we can just live in the
reading through Luke at the supper table, and it actually John the Baptist's, I think it was Jesus or John the Baptist, they're talking about what happens after you follow God, and it says the soldier should be content with his wages, and we're just talking about contentment. I think there's also a contentment piece that people should be thinking about when it comes to this kind of stuff. But also, I think we're not going to get an exact answer from God about what we should be doing or not be doing.
Most likely, could happen.
Could happen. Most likely,
it's not probably not going to be
usually
written on a wall.
In faith. Abraham, left the promise, his land of the Chaldeans. He didn't know exactly where he was going, but God asked him to go. I think about me quitting. I didn't know how it was going to turn out. I just knew that I needed to put my family first, and what I was doing right now wasn't helping me get there anymore. And so you don't always know the answer, but God asks you to just move forward sometimes in faith. So, anyways, I want to share a quick story about Jonathan Klopp. You know him?
Yeah.
He's a coach and client and a listener of the podcast, and one of the owners of Quantum Engineering. They do structural engineering, so houses and stuff like that.
Great guys.
Yeah.
Great guys.
So we connected because he was a fan of the podcast, and we got talking, and he shared that everything was actually, I talked to him about coaching and stuff like that, and after talking to him, he said everything was going quite well in his business, and also in his family life, but he still felt empty and a lack of internal peace and a feeling of purpose. So I told him that my 10-week program would make a massive shift in that area. And he was leery, but chose to take the leap anyway. And so we finished up a bunch of weeks ago. And he wrote a long testimonial, so I'll read just a part of it. But he said, before working with Kyle, I didn't realize it, but I valued being busy because that's where I thought my worth came from. My busyness was turning into chaos. Work was dominating my life. My health and family were suffering. And I was sick of it. Kyle quickly helped me uncover the inconsistencies between what I believed and what I was actually doing. He cuts quickly through the bullshit and then tells you the truth, painful as it can be, and challenges you to think differently. Now, I'm living from a place of calm, planning ahead, delegating early, having hard conversations, and actually showing up for my family. And so it's not a stretch to say his coaching is life-changing. I wish I'd done this years ago. So I'll keep saying it. If you're ready to move the needle when it comes to your own internal peace, challenges you face in your business or at home, be a man and give me a call. My coaching will change your life. I guarantee it. Full money back. So if that's you, just text me or give me a call, 604-703-8255. 9045 is my number. And I won't pitch, like no pressure, just a conversation to get clarity on how I can help you. So, anything you got right now? Because otherwise I'll switch
Yeah, I
to...
had a question.
Okay.
So did we talk about that question? Is it sin to believe wrong theology?
I have that next.
Okay.
And go for it.
No, go ahead.
Is it a sin to believe wrong theology? Not referring to theology directly related to lifestyle, but more abstract theology. For example, end times eschatology, predestination, dispensationalism, perseverance of the saints. Will God judge us if we can't discern what is true and teach our children something wrong?
Hopefully not. Otherwise, Matt Keen's in deep trouble. Just joking, Matt. Just joking.
So I actually called him about this question.
Okay.
So he said, it's a sin if a person stubbornly refuses to submit to God's word. But if it's a mistake, it's not sinful. But if you're always seeking correction or checking where you might be wrong, asking God constantly, am I wrong here? Show me, open my eyes when I read the Bible. Like not being like, this is the way, I'm not even having a discussion about it. Like just full stop, but actually, you know, being a Berean, seeing if these things are so, which is interesting, actually. I went to Salvation Army Church on Sunday to check it out. And Matt was saying off the pulpit, he goes, don't just take my word for what I'm saying. You as a church need to be holding me accountable as a pastor to make sure what I'm saying is true. Like be checking these things. Not just verbatim.
Okay.
And
that's said at our pulpit too, but it's definitely not said everywhere.
Yeah.
I guess my answer to that would have been, before the instant thought that came to my mind as I read it the other day, was that we all believe wrong theology.
We're just not aware.
Yeah. So like if you think that's not true, then you have I'd love to have a private discussion with you, but then there's something, and that is really what's wrong with our Christian culture, is we literally think we have nailed our theology.
On everything.
Yeah. And if we're not sure, well, then we just don't even think about it because it's too uncomfortable to think that we may not totally understand something. Yet God says he is a mystery. And the Bible talks about the mysteries of the Lord, right? So I just feel like not that we can't get into theological debates and you know, whatever, challenge each other on things, but there's a lot of secondary issues where we are just going to be,
and especially if you think you have your theology nailed and you're not a Christian and you don't believe in Christ, then,
or even just the idea of
that's you hate God then, right? Like we forget how black and white the Bible is. We're either saved and totally forgiven and loved by God and know him,
or we're unsaved.
Or we're unsaved. We hate God. We live for Satan. And like there is no difference. No. And so the more like that is really, really important.
Yeah. The other thing I guess that comes to my mind is just the idea of like the minute you start to create where your theology is correct or things that you believe, or just in general, not even about theology. I think when we start to think that we've nailed it on issues, boy, do we look down on others, and we just, there again, we're not practicing the fruits of the Spirit. It's back to that first question that we answered, kind of the idea of like, hey, are we being loving? Are we being gracious? I think a lot of Christian culture is a clanging cymbal, right? Yes. We believe a lot of things strongly, and we may even be right, but we're sure not being loving, right? And so to do that well, to be winsome is hard.
And loving is not just saying it nicely. Loving is like,
what is
you
love?
have in your heart that you deeply care for this person and their soul, and you want their well-being. Like it's a sacrificial thing. It's not just like being polite. So anyways, we're going to end today's podcast talking about child exploitation.
Oof.
Heavy topic. So if you got kids listening, or if this is a hard topic for you,
shut it down now.
Yeah, a warning. So we're going to watch.
I've never watched this yet. I've seen it on social media, or I saw people post it. But...
Okay, so this is a 9-minute clip of Tim Tebow talking with Sean Ryan on the Sean Ryan Show about the exploitation of what's going on in America. And so hopefully this doesn't get flagged as me stealing this, whatever, for watching it or reacting to it. But it's about a 9-minute clip. Me and Gary are going to watch it, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. I really want to watch this because I actually listened to a sermon that a friend sent to me a while ago from a Dutch Reformed pastor, and about the amount of sexual abuse that happens in Reformed circles and how much of it gets covered up. And he went to the cops about some case, and the cops actually said to him, "Oh, is it from that church?" And they said yes. He goes, "Oh, we have lots of cases from there." Like it was like the cops already knew, like we're wide open about how much it was there. And it's just, it breaks.
To be fair, or to be super important to know, there would be lots of sexual abuse in every church, because there's lots of sexual abuse everywhere.
That's correct. That's
right.
correct. It's 1 in 4 kids generally, but
well,
it's
with
but,
women
but it,
for sure.
But it's
1
a
or
lot.
5, yeah.
Just
totally.
like porn use is higher in super conservative Reformed and super conservative Christian and super conservative Muslim cultures. Often when stuff is not in the open in general as a culture, and like we try to show that
it's
our
more
good side,
prevalent.
it's more prevalent because things get hidden, and so. I want it to end. I want it to be less. So I think we have a little bit of an audience here, and so we're gonna watch it now.
But specifically, our heart is to get to as many and leverage anything and everything we can so that they can get out of this evil. And as I mentioned earlier, you think so much is done by all these groups and gangs, and yes, that does take place in a lot of areas. But man, it's overwhelming when you think how much is done by families, by friends, by those in the trusted circle. And especially when we talk about the fight against child exploitation and child sexual abuse, it's off the charts of what is being done in the families. And do you know what's I don't know if I want to say most disappointing, but maybe one of the most heartbreaking is, do you know the number 1 offender? Biological fathers. And it's not going to make your day, but I brought a map to share with you. Is this map? Every red dot on that. So first of all, that is a DOJ law enforcement map. It's called the red dot map. And this is over the last 30 days, and every red dot on that map is at least one unique IP address of individuals downloading, sharing, distributing child abuse and rape images under the age of 12. And there's over 111,000 of them just in the US of the last 30 days. And I wanted to bring that because I think it brings to life so much of the evil that we're trying to face. And people will say, well, that's just over there and it's in those countries and it's all of those places. And it's not. Sean, it's right here in our backyard. It is right here. And out of everyone, and some people will say, okay, well they're just downloading and sharing it and distributing it, but they're not. 55 to 85% are also hands-on offenders, and your average offender has 13 victims in their lifetime. 13 victims. Every one of those red dots is there's a boy or girl that is suffering on the other end of what they're sharing, downloading, or distributing. And I wanted to share that with you because I know that your heart breaks for them. And I think that map brings to life the evil that we're trying to fight. And it's why, one of our hearts is to get the Renewed Hope Act passed through Congress, because it takes the law enforcement officers right now and victim identification officers at C3, and they're amazing. Some of my favorite people in the world, but there's 7 of them right now at C3.
There's how many?
7.
Seven people to
yes, and also ICACs are working on that. We love ICAC, and we need to enhance their funding because they desperately need it. Internet Crimes Against Children, and they're awesome. 62 locations around the country, but primarily the ones that are also working on this are at C3. And we want to get the Renewed Hope Act passed because it would take it from 7 to 200. And now we have a much greater chance if we have all of those officers that are trained and equipped to be fighting against this evil. And again, that's the last 30 days. And that's not getting into live streaming or sextortion or grooming or so many of the other issues we're fighting. That is just in peer-to-peer networks of them sharing and distributing child rape images under the age of 12.
This is 12 and under.
12 and under.
111,423 unique IP addresses.
And some people will say, well, that's just, they're just downloading it and they're just sharing it. And no, it's not just that easy. You have to go in, you have to download it, just, a peer-to-peer, and then you have to be able to download all of these images, and then you're sharing them. It's not like this just happens by accident. It's not like, oh, I just looked at a bad picture, and it's not like this is a photo of a baby in a bathtub. No, so many of these are brutal abuse of children. And when we go back to those 50,000 boys and girls that are unknown in the ICSA database that we were talking about before, out of those 57,000, over 3,000 of them were infants or toddlers. Oh, man. And so if you say what's on our heart, and these are boys and girls that can't fight for themselves. They can't defend themselves. And yet, so many of us, myself for so long, did nothing to defend or stand up for them. And it is our heart that we would rally an army, and maybe we would even declare a national emergency to fight this evil. If this is happening in our backyard, and out of all those that have been rescued from, or out of all those that have been, safeguarded and rescued from Renewed Hope 1, 2, and 3, more than half of those boys and girls have been right here in the U.S. So we think it's over there, it's over there, it's over there. No, yes, it is happening in other places, but it is happening in our country, right here, in our neighborhoods, in our backyards, in our families. And then we get into the fight against live streaming. And do you know the number one payer of live stream rape of boys and girls around the world? U.S. Not close. And in peer-to-peer sharing, we're third. China, Russia, America. Man. Sorry, I do get fired up about it.
I do too, man. It's, how are you combating this?
Well, we're trying to do it in every area, in every way possible, whether that's with partnerships and nonprofits and law enforcement and rallying and task forces and legislation and lobbying, trying to get them to enhance the army per se in fighting this. And that's really what the Renewed Hope Act is for. But it's also getting the Renewed Hope operations more and more and more. And we're having more and more every day. But it's also, creating awareness. And I hate to use awareness because people say it all the time, and I don't want awareness for awareness sake. I want people to be aware so we act to do something. I think we really have to change laws and legislation, and I believe there's a lot of people in Congress and in DC that want to change it, but we have to get it done. We have to protect these boys and girls. And I know we have to figure out budgets and balances and all these important things, but what does it matter if we figure out a budget but our boys and girls in our backyard are being raped and abused? Like, let's make the main thing the main thing. This should be a main thing. Mm-hmm. Like, this has to be a main thing.
Yeah, I guess to me, there's probably people that fall into two camps. There's probably people that would listen to that, watch that, and be like, can hardly believe it. And then there's people that probably fill their head with all kinds of perverse crap all the time and think, hey, that's probably feel pretty convicted and pretty crappy and pretty guilty, right?
It's 111,000 of people sharing it.
Yeah, the
last 30
numbers,
days.
I think it's way more, I think it needs to be way more than just the outrage of how much it is. I think it needs to be way more about, I think, a personal journey for people of just, hey, like, how are we protecting the kids around us? Are we, along with that, like what he's doing is amazing. And I think there's probably there is a place for that. I think of like Brian, who you had on from Ratnack, right? He's like literally making a difference there again, somewhere else in the world, not in the USA per se. But
so yeah, anyways, like for anybody listening, like we get anywhere between 500 and 1,000 downloads an episode. So statistically, there is some people that are predators probably listening to this podcast.
Yeah, for sure victims. That's
for sure victims. So I'll speak to that in a sec. But if you're a predator, like right now, go into your vehicle and drive to the cop shop and turn yourself in. I am dead serious. Like, you need to repent from this and stop. Like, you are destroying lives, and it is awful. And yes, it'll be found out, and yes, your name will be tarnished forever, but you're going to be wrecking things even more. And there's hope if you turn and repent and turn to Jesus, but you need to stop right now and turn yourself in. Do it. You will. If you do not, you will suffer for an eternity if you do not turn.
More likely though, it's more likely that people just watch.
even just watching, like,
way
go
more
get
likely
help,
that
go
people-
tell somebody, like, because that's, yeah, I mean, if you're not actually doing it, but like just watching it, like, go get help, go talk to somebody, like someone you trust, call me, call Gary, do something, don't keep going. But also, if you're a victim, one of the reasons why this stuff keeps happening is because victims don't talk. And I understand why. If you hear Trevor's story on a previous podcast, whatever else like that, it makes sense. There's so, like, our minds get so wrecked from this stuff when this stuff happens to us. But the more it gets public, the more people you will likely save, and from this continuing to happen, and yourself. And so, like, if you want to share your story and this has happened to you, contact me and we'll have an episode together, and we'll share that episode, and we'll make an impact that way, or just talk about it publicly in your own area that you're in, and get the word out, and expose these people that are doing this, or get free yourself if you're being abused. Even if it's by family, usually it is by family. He said in this little clip here, the most common person that's doing this is dads to their own kids. Like, that breaks my heart. That is so wrong. If you think about how our view of God is the same view of how we view our own dads, think about how broken and twisted that is, but also how different God is. And the last thing I'll say to this is, Jesus can heal. If you've been affected by this and you are broken, Jesus can heal. Like, go to him, and it might not be now, and you might not even understand why this has happened in the first place and why God allowed it. But go to him, pray, and he can heal you and give incredible freedom. It reminds me again of Trevor's story, how he came on here. He called me today. He's a happy guy, and he's recovered. So there is healing possible. And so please, that is the way. And sometimes your church leadership might not help you, or other ways. Like, that does happen in churches where these things get covered up. Go to someone else, expose these things, and hopefully we can make a small difference. And if this has happened to you, I'm sorry. My heart breaks for you. But yeah, I wanted to, I thought it'd be good to watch that and to share that on the podcast here. So
Heavy stuff, man. Heavy.
anyways, before we wrap up, next week we will get back to Gentle and Lowly. Hopefully you'll read it on your vacation. You'll have some extra time there if you're not on your phone.
What week is this getting released then?
This
September?
will get released on
Or the last week, August.
Yes. Yeah. So anyways, guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate it. Please share this podcast with friends and family if you think it's worth it, or on social media, like it, subscribe. It goes a long way. Also, if you subscribe onto Patreon, you get access to the full clip uncut, with some behind the scenes stuff, early access to episodes, and some more stuff on there. But it does go a long way when you subscribe to that. So that is super appreciated. And you can do that on patreon.com/furiously curious. Till next week.